This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Jennifer Kuiper. Breaking news out of D.C. Law enforcement says a small aircraft is down in the Potomac River near Washington's Reagan Airport. Takeoffs and landings have been stopped. The FAA confirms that a regional jet collided in midair with a helicopter while on approach to runway 33 at Reagan Airport, as heard on Broadcastify.com.
Disabled aircraft or something like that?
I believe an incident with a helicopter.
PSA Airlines was operating Flight 5342 for American Airlines. The FAA says it departed from Wichita, Kansas. President Trump's budget office...
From the downtown LA Law Group Injury Help Studios.
This is Southern California's news.
KNX News, 97.1 FM. Breaking news
On KNX News, 97.1 FM.
Chris Edens now along with Margaret Carrero. This is KNX News. We're in breaking news coverage right now. An airline flight carrying 60 people on board has crashed into the Potomac River in the center of Washington, D.C. after colliding with a helicopter. Local CBS TV anchors say emergency crews are now working to rescue people in the river, and video has emerged of the collision.
Working diligently and speedily with really great haste to try to get to any survivors that could be out there.
Every
Absolutely.
second counts. Now, we want to show you some new video. We are just getting in from EarthCam here. And I do want to warn you, you can see the moment of impact down there. That's another plane taking off at the time. But when the camera zooms back out, you're going to see that explosion in just a moment. There it is, right there. So again, and you can see just how the plane went down, the helicopter went down. Again, we're hearing 60 people were on board this flight trying to land at Reagan National at the time. When it was with the helicopter, not too far away from Joint Base Anacostia Bowling and Reagan National Airport, the two collided midair. Again, that's the sound coming from our CBS colleagues in our nation's capital. This breaking news, a potential midair, and in fact, I shouldn't say potential, it is a midair collision, a plane and a helicopter colliding, a regional jet and a military helicopter crashing in our nation's capital. Margaret Carrero is with me, as is Charles Feldman. Charles, you on the line with us right now?
Yes, I am, Chris.
Okay. Anything new that you've got from your vantage point?
No, I've been listening to the same reports that you and Margaret have been listening to, and there are going to be, of course, lots and lots of questions. As I mentioned before to Margaret, airline midair collisions in this country are extremely rare, especially in recent times. And so there is going to obviously be a lot of questions about how that could have happened. Both of these aircraft, certainly the airliner, and presumably the helicopter, because it was operating near the airspace of a major airport, that both of them would have been under the control of air traffic control. Probably the tower, I'm guessing, because the aircraft was coming in for a landing. So there are all kinds of questions that will be raised. But right now, of course, before anybody gets to that stage, this is obviously a search and rescue mission to see if anybody on board either the helicopter or the airliner survived that collision, which happens with enormous force. As you can imagine, the aircraft would be moving at speeds on landing probably in the area of about 140 to 150 miles per hour, if not more.
We are getting reports that D.C. police and fire say that the search and rescue is ongoing after this aircraft crash. No confirmed information at this point on casualties. It is just an all-hands-on-deck effort with this search underway there at the Potomac.
Now, let's bring in aviation expert, former United Airlines pilot Rusty Amer again to this conversation. Rusty, thank you for taking some time for us today. A helicopter and a regional jet. As Charles mentioned, this is very, very rare. And the fact that it happened in the nation's capital where you think security and the best might be working. How are you seeing this?
Obviously, it's a tragedy. Anytime there is any type of crash like this, it's an extreme tragedy. This is especially important because of the proximity to the White House, the monument, and everything. And the approach into Reagan International, it's a very unique approach by the airliner. They were on a IFR, what we call instrument flight rules, and under control of radar and probably at that moment talking to the tower. Now, the intruding helicopter was probably on a different type of approach, perhaps VFR under visual control, and he or she must have been watching the traffic, and they failed to do so, and they ran into the commuter.
Nope. Apparently, we may have lost Rusty. We've still got our Charles Feldman with us. Charles, emergency situation right now. Crews now, I guess, trying to find anybody who may have possibly survived this. I take it from your expertise in the aviation field, the chance of survivors coming out of this is probably pretty low.
Well, regrettably, yes, the chance of survivors in a midair collision would be very low, but you never know. There are all kinds of miracles. I don't like that word, but all sorts of miracles do sometimes happen, even involving airliner accidents. If we get Rusty back, I do have a couple of questions that I'd like to ask him, but he mentioned something very important that let me expand upon. He was talking about how the helicopter was probably on what they call visual flight rules. Airliners always operate, even in clear weather, under what's called instrument flight rules. That means that they are in constant contact with their traffic control, they're on radar. There are a lot of eyes on that aircraft. The helicopter, which is probably flying at a much lower altitude, is more than likely on what they call visual flight rules, which means the pilot has a responsibility, or the pilots, to literally look out of the window and avoid hitting another aircraft. So the question then becomes, did they not notice that there was a large airliner about to ram into them? But again, airliners are moving, even on landing, at a very fast speed. And by the time a pilot actually sees the aircraft coming, it's too late.
Charles, we've got Rusty back with us on the line. You got a question you wanted to throw at him?
Yeah, hi, Rusty. Let me ask you something, and I mentioned this before you joined the conversation. The airliner in question would have equipment on board that would direct the pilots in the event that it sensed another aircraft anywhere near, whether to climb or descend or to do some sort of an evasive maneuver. The helicopter would likely not have that. Is that correct?
That is correct, Charles. And I listened to your last briefing that was right on spot. I was going to ask you, are you an aviation expert? Because you said it correctly. The airliner, or the CRJ commuter carrier, is on an IFR flight plan, instrument flight rules, and he or she is talking with the radar, under radar control, and they do have all kinds of instruments that would warn them of proximity with an intruding aircraft. But as you mentioned also, the helicopter is on a different type of flight plan, perhaps on a visual, and they have to kind of watch out for other traffic. And unfortunately, it looks to me like they did not see the commercial aircraft that was probably on a visual approach, kind of a sophisticated type of maneuver coming into Reagan, because they have to follow the center line of the river and not intrude into the banks of the river. So they're concentrating on their approach at that moment, and perhaps they received what we call an RA, which is a warning from the ground proximity of another aircraft, but it may have been too late, and by then the helicopter ran into them.
Rusty, Charles, if I can get you both, hang on just a moment. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt just addressed the crash. She spoke on Fox News.
In light of this breaking news, I have called over to my counterparts at the White House, and I can confirm that President Trump has been made aware of this situation. And tragically, it appears that a military helicopter collided with a regional jet at DCA Airport right here in Washington, D.C. That's all I can confirm at this point in time, and I can just say that the thoughts and the prayers of the entire Trump administration are with all those that are involved, and we ask the public in this area to please stand by for guidance from law enforcement and allow them to do their jobs.
Again, that's White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt just moments ago addressing the crash during an appearance on Fox News. Along with Margaret Carrero and Charles Feldman, we've got United Airlines, former United Airlines pilot, aviation expert Rusty Amer with us as well. Rusty.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Stacey Lynn in Washington, where an American Airlines plane collided in midair with a Black Hawk helicopter over the Potomac River while it was trying to land at Reagan National Airport. This man spoke to WUSA 9 and says his wife was on board.
I'm just praying that somebody's pulling her out of the river right now as we speak. That's all I can pray for. I'm just praying to God.
When was the last time you spoke with her?
She texted me that they were landing in 20 minutes.
This was a call to liveatc.net when the collision happened.
I just saw a fireball and then it was just gone. So I haven't seen anything since they hit the river, but it was a CRJ and a helicopter that hit. I would say maybe a half-mile off the approach end of 33.
A defense official says 3 soldiers were on board the Black Hawk helicopter, which was flown out of Fort Belvoir, Virginia. There were 60 passengers and 4 crew members on the plane. A police official tells CBS News at least 18 bodies have been recovered so far. Senior transportation correspondent Chris Van Cleve.
There is an active rescue operation underway to try to get whoever may be in the water out of the Potomac River after what appears to be a collision between the CRJ 700. It would have been operating as an American Airlines flight and a military Black Hawk helicopter.
Now, all flights at DCA have been grounded. President Trump has been briefed on the incident and says he's monitoring the situation. On to another big story of the day. Robert F. Kennedy Jr.